God is the potter. Part 2. Do we make our own choices, or is there a cause? Let's look at scripture. The story of Joseph begins with his brothers' jealousy. They conspired against him, first planning to kill him, but instead sold him into slavery in Egypt for 20 pieces of silver. In Egypt, despite many trials, Joseph found favor with Pharaoh and was made second in command over the entire land. When a great famine struck, Joseph's brothers traveled to Egypt to buy grain, not knowing they would come face to face with the brother they had betrayed. After testing them, Joseph could no longer contain his compassion and revealed himself, saying, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt." Let's see how God is always in control. Who was responsible for selling Joseph as a slave to Egypt? His brothers, driven by jealousy, conspired against him and sold him into slavery. But was it only their will at play? Years later, Joseph revealed a deeper plan, telling them, "You thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to save much people alive." God didn't force their hand. He simply orchestrated the circumstances, a father's favor, prophetic dreams, knowing their envy would lead them to act. Every event, from the brothers' rage to a passing caravan, was a step in God's plan to position Joseph to save nations from famine. God knows what He's doing. He orchestrates every detail in our lives to bring about His perfect will. Consider Peter. He boldly declared he was ready to go with Yeshua to prison and to death, but Yeshua prophesied that Peter would deny him 3 times before the rooster crowed, and he did. In one night, God humbled the disciples, proving their will was not free, but that God works in them to will and to do of His good pleasure. The Apostle James warns against boasting about tomorrow. Instead, we should say, "If the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that." James understood 2 factors that constantly oppose the will of man: our circumstances and the will of God. Consider the disciples. In the upper room, they willed to remain loyal to Yeshua. But later, surrounded by soldiers, fear became the circumstance that caused them to flee, fulfilling Christ's prophecy. They did not want to deny Yeshua, but were they free to do otherwise? No. God had a master plan, and Yeshua declared it before it happened. God knows how to bring about change to accomplish His will, and His plan will be accomplished. The story of Pharaoh is a powerful example of God's sovereignty. Scripture says to Pharaoh, "For this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show my power in you, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth." So, God has mercy on whom He wants to have mercy, and He hardens whom He wants to harden. God commanded Pharaoh to let his people go, but then prevented it from happening. The Lord Himself hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would refuse. Why? God's plan was much bigger. He wanted Pharaoh to resist so he could multiply his signs and wonders in Egypt. After the plagues, Pharaoh let the Hebrews go. But God hardened his heart once more, causing him to chase them to the Red Sea, where his army was decimated. From birth to death, this dishonorable vessel was controlled by the potter. Pharaoh was a tool in the hands of God, intentionally created to display His majesty and sovereignty for all time. Paul is the pattern case. Before his conversion, he was a blasphemer and a persecutor who hated Christians. But on his way to Damascus, a blinding light from heaven struck him down. In an instant, he went from despising Christians to asking, "Lord, what will you have me to do?" Paul obtained mercy to be a pattern for those who would later believe. His story shows that salvation depends not on the will of man, but on the sovereign will of God. For it is God who works in you, both to will and to do of His good pleasure. What did Yeshua say about God's will? He stated plainly, "I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of Him that sent me." Yeshua didn't speak His own words or do His own works. He taught that the Father dwelling in Him did the works, and the words He spoke were not His, but the Father's who sent Him. God is orchestrating everything to accomplish His will. Why put faith in our own desires when He has our best intentions in mind? The final scene is soon upon us, and the curtain is about to be drawn. For a deeper dive, follow the link in the description. Maranatha.